On this edition of Lexington Now, stopping gun violence, Juneteenth celebrations, and 80th anniversary of D-Day. I'm Neil Noah, and welcome to Lexington Now for the week of June 10th, 2024. June 7th was National Gun Violence Awareness Day. A press event was held in Lexington for the Wear Orange campaign to end gun violence.
120 people are killed every day in the United States from gun violence, and that is 827 people in Kentucky per year that are killed. By participating today in Wear Orange, we rally for safer communities, and together we can build a future free from gun violence.
Why do we wear orange? It's all because of a teenager in Chicago named Hattie Pendleton. She was 15 years old. 2 weeks earlier, she had marched in a Barack Obama's second inaugural parade. She was in a public park in Chicago, and she was killed by a gun. Her friends, like we feel, enough is enough. They wanted to do something. And what they chose orange as their color because, as they said, hunters wear orange to protect themselves, and so will we.
Whereas orange has become the defining color of the gun violence prevention movement, and whereas through Wear Orange, thousands of people have united around a call to end gun violence. And whereas this year, Wear Orange Weekend is June 7th through the 9th and includes National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas gun violence has plagued our nation for many years and has claimed the lives of far too many Lexington residents. And whereas no one should lose their life as a result of senseless gun violence. Now, therefore, I, Linda Gorton, Mayor of Lexington, do hereby declare June 7th, 2024, Wear Orange Day in Lexington. Thank you very much.
I wish that the guns would be put down. I wish that no one else would have to experience this. I wish children would find a reason to live and want to live and see the future and be our future. But we've already started and it's only June. So how are we going to make it the rest of the summer? Let's make it no more. Let's not have one more child. Not another parent bury another child.
I always say, you can't kill love. You might have taken Tyler from me, but you can't kill the love that we have and had for each other. We have a history in our family of people being killed, murdered by a gun. My grandmother's mother, my grandmother's brother, my grandmother's son, and it goes on. And then there's Tyler, and there was my grandmother's son's son. That's no history that anybody wants to bear. Nobody, and should have to. And yes, something needs to be done.
My son on May 28th, 2023 was killed right across the street in a parking lot in cold blood in front of the beautiful mural that I only hope was the last sight he saw and not his murderer's face. The murderer came up behind somebody else, pulled a gun out of his pocket, and shot him dead in one shot. I had no idea that a person could hurt, or a person's heart could hurt this much and you still be breathing.
One thing I can say about loss is when you lose a loved one, usually those first couple weeks, people are texting, they bringing over a whole bunch of chicken, they whole bunch of food. But after a couple weeks, man, people tend to go back to their lives. People go back to their routine, and while those who have lost loved ones are stuck to deal with grief, one thing that we've learned over the last 3 years is that grief could last a lifetime. It impacts marriages, it impacts children, it impacts employment, it impacts everything. And so for those of us that are service providers out here, when we're thinking about survivors, this isn't a 1 week, a 2 week, a 1 month journey. Our ecosystem has to figure out how do we support these people for the long run. And so that's probably the most impactful part, biggest learning curve of my job. There's a lot of people in this city that is helping to address this each and every day. And if we as a community look at this like a puzzle piece and we try to figure out what part that we play, to me, that's what encapsulates what One Lexington truly means.
Lexington is marking Juneteenth this year with a week full of events for the whole family. Here's what to expect.
Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day, became an official federal holiday in 2021. It's the oldest national celebration commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. The June 19th holiday honors the day that all those who were enslaved in the U.S. received word that they had been freed. For some, Juneteenth is a relatively unknown holiday. For others, it's a long-standing tradition. This year in Lexington, Juneteenth flags will adorn Main Street beginning June 10th. There will also be banners along the Legacy Trail from Isaac Murphy Memorial Art Garden to the North Lexington YMCA.
Well, our Juneteenth event will be at Charles Young off 3rd Street in Lexington. It'll start June the 22nd, and it'll run from 11 to 7 p.m., where we'll have DJ Slob as our DJ. He'll be on the ones and twos. We'll have a bouncy house for the kids brought to us by Bounce U. We'll also have Benny and Friends and 720 Crick. So we're hoping that everybody can come out and enjoy Emancipation Day. We're begging y'all to bring your children, because the children are our future, and we want them to know this holiday, what its significance is here in Kentucky, and how we, as a nation has grown to observe something that should have been observed a long time ago. Thank you.
We're going to be at the Moondance Amphitheater. It is a free festival. We'll have everything from cooking demos, a kids area, different Black-owned businesses and vendors, and of course, food. Our mission at Soul Feast Week is to celebrate Black culinary and agriculture here in this state, commemorating the Juneteenth holiday. I'd like to thank all the people behind me in these grassroots-led efforts and really setting the groundwork for Soul Feast. Please go out and support everyone. A lot of our events don't overlap, or you can do multiple events during the day. We are very, very thankful to the city of Lexington for making this a priority to honor those that came before us while celebrating and being progressive for the future. So if you want more information about Soul Feast Week, just head to soulfeastweek.com. Thank you.
Wise Guys Urban Uplift will be hosting our annual Juneteenth celebration this year on Father's Day, June 16th. What better way to honor our ancestors than to celebrate their lives and their contributions to this country, especially on the day dedicated to fathers raising up the next generation who will carry on their legacy. Wise Guys Urban Uplift Foundation will be celebrating Juneteenth with free food, compliments of Creole Cafe with proteins supplied from a Black-owned local organic farmer. We will have free activities for the children of Lexington, from inflatables to foam machines and face paint, as well as a live DJ and other free entertainments from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So as my dad would say, bring your family, leave your wallets and purses at home, and come enjoy some free food and fun. Wise Guys looks forward to celebrating Juneteenth for the city of Lexington again this year. Thank you.
As we have gathered today to hear about the different events to be held in our community to commemorate Juneteenth, let us not merely celebrate freedom in the abstract, but anchor our reflections in the rich yet often overlooked heritage of Lexington-Fayette County's rural Black hamlets. As many of us know, Juneteenth marks the emancipation of the last enslaved African Americans, but our celebration must go beyond the date itself. It must delve deep into the stories of resilience, innovation, and community that have shaped our local history. That's what the A Sense of Place initiative's goal is, to remember and celebrate Lexington's rural Black hamlets. In the quiet corners of Lexington-Fayette County, Black hamlets like Bracktown, here in Cadentown, and Jimtown emerged as sanctuaries of hope and bastions of self-determination. These communities were born out of the necessity and driven by the resilient spirit. They were places where Black families, against all odds, built homes, schools, and churches, cultivating not only the land, but also a profound sense of identity and belonging. So on June the 19th, at 11 a.m. at the Cadentown Missionary Baptist Church, we will hold a program that will give updates about the A Sense of Place initiative, which is to repair and do some work on these grounds here. This school behind us is 101 years old this year, and we want to do some repairs around that and to also clean up the cemetery that's back there. Dr. Yvonne Giles has gathered over 170 names of individuals that have been interred back in this cemetery behind here. And so it is our duty to not let the history become a footnote, but to really uplift it and celebrate it in our community by honoring our ancestors and really memorializing the place that they've been laid to rest and their contribution to not just Cadentown, but the Lexington community at large.
And we're so excited to celebrate with you. We're so excited to bring our community in with celebrations of live performances. We will have a special historical celebration, and we will also have a vendor fair there. Our performances start at 6 o'clock. Our vendor fair starts at 4 o'clock. And we're here to celebrate inclusivity and diversity as we all celebrate together this American milestone of Juneteenth. So this will be hosted on June 19th at the Lyric Theater. And thanks to our incredible, awesome, and generous supporters at LFC or UCG, University of Kentucky, and Hickson Function, this community event will also be free. So come out, enjoy, let's bring everybody in. It's open to all, and we cannot wait to see you there. Thank you.
When we come back, we'll hear a bit about the historical side of Juneteenth.
Hello everyone, I'm Tiffany Brown, Equity and Implementation Officer in the Mayor's Office and Chair of the A Sense of Place Committee. I'm here today to talk about A Sense of Place, an initiative dedicated to preserving the history of Lexington's rural Black hamlet and celebrating those that remain active today. More than 20 historic Black hamlets have been identified in Fayette County. Most are located in rural areas. Our historic hamlets have been and are home to generations of lived experiences, traditions, and culture. Houses, churches, schools, grocery stores, agricultural enterprises, and lodge halls for community gatherings were found in many hamlets. A Sense of Place is a partnership between community members with direct connection to our hamlets and the city of Lexington. Its goal is to raise awareness about what the hamlets represent and to identify steps that are needed to take to preserve their history. The A Sense of Place committee includes local historian Yvonne Giles, local historian Calvin Graves, Executive Director of the Lexington History Museum Mandy Higgins, Cadentown resident Dr. Alvin Seals, Cadentown Baptist Church pastor Reverend Leon Slatter, and others. With support from members of the Cadentown community, A Sense of Place is currently raising funds for maintenance updates and programming of the Cadentown Rosenwald School and property located at 705 Caden Lane. In the early 2000s, members of the Cadentown community worked with the city to preserve the school. In the early 20th century, Rosenwald schools were found across the South, serving rural Black children and families during segregation. Many of the buildings have been destroyed. Lexington is proud that the Cadentown School still stands and wants to preserve the history and significance that so many of these schools have had in our hamlet communities. The funds will complete the restoration of the school and upgrade the historic cemetery and church building. The school will permanently house artifacts that tell the story of Lexington's hamlet. We hope you will join us.
Welcome back to Lexington Now. Yvonne Giles is affectionately known as the Cemetery Lady. She tells us about this year's Juneteenth Jubilee, offering a perspective on African American contributions to our history.
Each year, we honor all the men who fought during the Civil War in the United States Colored Troop. If you hadn't heard of those when you were in school, you'll hear of them now. They started enlisting in 1863. The first Free Black Regiment, the 54th Massachusetts, and the 55th Massachusetts Infantries formed outside our state. But we have veterans from those particular units in our cemetery. All of the 154 men, all the others came mostly from Kentucky, but there were from other states, Tennessee, Arkansas, all of these men, African Americans who joined. This year, Steve Fain, who is the ranger at Camp Nelson Monument, just about 30 miles south of us, will be our presenter. This is the 160th anniversary of the formation of Camp Nelson. 114 of our veterans actually joined the 8 regiments that were formed at Camp Nelson. The other feature of our Juneteenth program this year is uncovering the fact that Lewis Hayden, who you'll be hearing more about in the coming months, actually encouraged Governor John Andrews of Massachusetts to petition Congress to allow him to form the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. He became a recruiter working in Canada, in Massachusetts, and other states west of that location. All of this is documented history. It's all new history to me. Every year I learn something different. We have members from the Lexington Freedom Train Committee, and they will be at our program so that you can begin to learn more of the history of the enslaved couple, Lewis and Harriet Hayden, who escaped in 1844, made their way to Canada, back into the United States, and then became just key members in the abolitionist Underground Railroad movement. Lewis Hayden and his wife rescued and secured the safety of at least 100 enslaved people. His face shows up on a stamp. In May of this year, the United States Postal Service issued a commemorative stamp for the 10 abolitionists, 6 of them African American men, and Lewis Hayden is among them. So there is much, much more history, not only surrounding the movement of freedom by enslaved people, their involvement in the Civil War, and their impact on our nation's culture and history following the Civil War. So all of this is part of what we do in the cemetery, just constant research, constant telling the story.
The Kentucky Theater will also be screening several free films on Juneteenth to mark the holiday. For the full slate of films, visit their website. This year marked the 80th anniversary of D-Day and the Normandy invasion, a key to the Allied victory in Europe during World War II. Mayor Gorton offered a few remarks during the ceremony held at the Kentucky Theater.
D-Day. Even 80 years later, it has special meaning. D-Day is the greatest amphibious landing in history. It changed the world, and for so many Americans, D-Day is still very personal. On that day in 1944, President Roosevelt prayed with the nation. He said, "For the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again. And we know that by thy grace and by the righteousness of our cause, our sons will triumph." Perhaps you lost a close relative or a friend on those beaches. Perhaps you learned about the 4,414 Allied troops, including 2,501 Americans, who died there through a movie or a news report or another way. Or perhaps you visited the beaches at Normandy or the Normandy American Cemetery. D-Day has a special meaning for all of us. Lexington has an extraordinary connection to D-Day and to Normandy through our sister city, Deauville, France. The sister city relationship between Lexington and Deauville is one of the oldest sister city relationships in the world. President Eisenhower created the organization in 1956, and Lexington became Deauville's sister city in 1957. The people of Deauville, working with our outstanding sister city's executive director, Kay Sargent, have helped us put together this program tonight to again demonstrate the reverence they have for the Americans who died on the Normandy beaches, Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice to free France and Europe from Nazi Germany.
We've got quite a few live meetings here on Lex TV and streaming online this week. And remember, you can also find the most accurate and up-to-date information on non-televised city business at lexingtonky.gov. Here's this week's meeting coverage. That's all for now, but as always, you can keep up with us on social media, check out the latest traffic updates on X at LexRex, or catch our live traffic cams on lexingtonky.gov. For all of us at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.